It's a hot summer day. Your refrigerator is broken, and all of those eggs you bought are essentially ticking time bombs. Imagine if I told you there was a way to preserve the identical eggs fresh for up to 15 years, rather than just a few weeks or months. Yes, you heard that correctly. 15 years. And no, you don't need any futuristic sci-fi gadgets to pull it off. The Amish have been doing this for decades, handing down a practice that is so effective it nearly seems magical. But I assure there's no hocus pocus here, just good old Amish know-how. We're talking about a simple method for keeping eggs fresher than some individuals keep their New Year's resolutions. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll not only know how to store eggs for the long term, but you'll also understand why this method may force you to reconsider everything you thought you knew about food preservation. Let's get to it. It all begins with those unclean farm-fresh eggs straight from the henhouse. The secret here is the natural bloom, the eggshell's protective coating that keeps air and bacteria out. The Amish understand that washing the eggs will lose the protective covering, so they skip the rinse and dive right into preservation. It's as if they're acknowledging Mother Nature while saying thanks, but no thanks, to contemporary amenities. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. Let's talk about the magical ingredient, lime water. Yes, you heard that correctly, lime water. This is not your typical lemonade mix. It is a solution prepared by dissolving calcium hydroxide in water. Don't let the fancy phrase put you off, it's just lime, and it's been used to preserve food for millennia. When the Amish soak their eggs in this lime water mixture, something truly miraculous occurs. What about the eggshell's microscopic pores? They seal tightly, forming an airtight barrier that keeps both air and bacteria out. It's like placing the eggs in a protective bubble. Suddenly, your eggs can survive for months, if not years, without going bad. Talk about a small miracle in your pantry. Oiling is another unusual yet amazing approach they use. Yes, you heard me correctly, oiling the eggs. They use a safe mineral oil to cover the eggs. It may sound strange, but this basic strategy works wonderfully. The oil, like the lime water, plugs the pores, limiting oxygen and keeping bacteria away. Who knew that a little grease could go a long way? And the greatest part is that you can do it at home with no special tools or supplies. Simply get some mineral oil from your local drugstore and you're ready to go. What's most remarkable is the scale at which the Amish accomplish this. They're not just saving a dozen eggs here and there, they're planning for the long term, typically preserving thousands of eggs each year. Most of us can only dream of having this degree of readiness. I can barely keep track of the dozen eggs I buy from the grocery each week, but the Amish have it all under control. It's an excellent example of sustainability, resourcefulness, and a great appreciation for food that we can all benefit from. The Amish have mastered this for centuries, long before we had freezers, grocery stores, or fancy expiration dates. So, why is this such a huge issue among the Amish? Well, if you're living off the grid, you can't just go to the store whenever you run out of eggs, especially when winter arrives and your chickens decide to take a break from laying. That is why preserving eggs is more than simply a kitchen trick. It is a technique to ensure that the family has food all year, regardless of the weather. Traditional egg preservation methods are used all over the world. Let's take a brief world tour to explore how different cultures have approached egg preservation. You might assume this is only an Amish thing, but people all throughout the world have been devising innovative ways to prolong their egg supply since before freezers existed. Let's start with China, where they have century eggs, also known as thousand-year eggs. These tiny beauties are fermented in a combination of clay, ash, and quicklime for weeks, if not months, until the yolk turns dark and creamy and the white becomes a jelly-like transparent brown. Sounds strange, but they swear by it, and it has been a mainstay for decades. Furthermore, they are a delicacy rather than just a mechanism of preservation. In Europe, eggs are pickled in vinegar, salt, and spices, making for a snack that is both tart and long-lasting. You may have seen them in jars behind the bar at your local dive, but pickling only lasts a few months, not years. Nevertheless, it's a classic. Then there's the old water glassing method, which involves immersing fresh eggs in a solution of water and sodium silicate, forming a seal that keeps them fresh for several months. Sounds familiar? Yes, it is one of the more prevalent methods that people have employed for a long time, even in the United States, before refrigeration became the standard. Still, we're talking months, not years. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. So, egg preservation is not a new concept. But here's where the Amish take things to the next level. Their process does not use any fancy chemicals, strange odors, or unusual flavors. Nope, it's simple, effective, and will keep those eggs fresh for up to 15 years. That's correct. Years, not months. So let's look at how they're performing this egg magic and why they're outperforming everyone else. Okay, folks, time to raise the veil and get to the good stuff. How can the Amish preserve their eggs for up to 15 years without using electricity or smelling like pickled eggs? It turns out that it's all about water glassing, and no, it has nothing to do with actual glass or expensive water bottles. This method is as old-fashioned as it gets. What is the magic ingredient? Hydrated lime, sometimes called slaked lime or pickling lime. It's a simple white powder that costs as little as dirt and can be obtained at most garden or hardware stores. But don't be deceived by its simplicity. This has been the secret sauce for preserving eggs for ages. The Amish, being the practical people they are, have stuck with this strategy because, well, it works. Here's how it goes. First, you'll need fresh, unwashed eggs. And when I say fresh, I mean right out of the coop, before they've had a chance to cool off. The eggs you buy at the store won't cut it since they've been washed, removing the protective coating or bloom that nature provides them. That covering prevents bacteria from growing and serves as the first line of defense in the preservation process. The Amish are aware of this, thus they do not scrub. Next, combine hydrated lime and water in a ratio of about 1 ounce of lime to 1 quart of water. Stir it until you get a milky, hazy solution, and voila, your preservation bath is ready. The Amish then gently lay the fresh eggs into the container, ensuring they are completely submerged. And here's where things get interesting. The lime solution forms a seal around the eggs, keeping out air and bacteria, which is what generally causes eggs to spoil. The eggs can stay in this lime bath for months, years, or even a decade, and remain perfectly edible. I know what you're thinking. Won't the lime water alter the flavor or make the eggs feel chalky? Surprisingly, not at all. The eggs remain identical inside, with the yolk and whites retaining their texture and flavor. When it's time to use them, simply rinse them to remove the lime solution, crack them open, and you're ready to go. Easy as pie. Or should I say, simple as a Sunday morning omelet. So why aren't more people doing this? For starters, most of us are accustomed to the comfort of freezers and have not had to rely on these types of preservation methods. But consider this. If you live in a culture that does not have access to power, such as the Amish, this method can be life-saving. Consider the freedom of knowing you have an egg supply that will last for years without relying on the grid or worrying about power outages. Most of us can only dream of achieving that level of self-sufficiency. And don't forget that this strategy isn't just for emergencies. It's also a really effective way to reduce waste. Consider how many times you've had to throw out eggs because they expired before they could be used. This issue is virtually eliminated with water glassing. You can store dozens of eggs, forget about them for a time, and then have a fresh supply when you need them. Furthermore, it does not require any electricity, making it a completely environmentally friendly alternative. It's a brilliant combination of natural design and chemical know-how that has kept eggs fresh and ready to eat for decades. Who knew that a small amount of lime and water could go so far? Honestly, it makes you wonder what other easy tactics we've forgotten over the years. So let's get down to business. Why is freshness important when it comes to keeping eggs? Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. Sure, we all like a farm-fresh omelet, but there's so much more to it than simply the taste. When the Amish decide to preserve eggs for the long term, they don't just take any old egg. They notably look for those fresh, unwashed beauties directly from the henhouse, and this is why, first and foremost, it is all about protecting the bloom. When an egg is laid, it contains a natural barrier, the miraculous covering we discussed before. The bloom functions as Mother Nature's security detail, blocking pathogens and keeping air from entering. But here's the catch. Washing the egg, even with a quick rinse, removes the protective covering. Without it, you're essentially courting trouble. The longer time an egg spends outside of its protective shell, the more likely bacteria will crash the party and destroy everything. So, fresh, unwashed eggs are very necessary. But let us not stop there. Freshness has a direct impact on the preservation process itself. The Amish understand that the fresher the egg, the better it will withstand the lime solution. Older eggs have already begun to break down within, making them more prone to spoiling. When you put a new egg in the lime bath, it forms a seal around the eggshell, which works best when the egg is at its freshest. If the egg is already maturing, its prospects of surviving 15 years in preservation are greatly reduced. It's like attempting to keep a home standing on a cracked foundation. It simply won't work. So what about flavor and texture? Let's be honest. Nobody wants a rubbery, flavorless egg. Fresh eggs have a rich, bright flavor that makes a great difference when cooking and baking. When you crack open an egg that has been stored for years, you expect it to have the same creamy, wonderful flavor as a fresh egg. And trust me, if you start with a stale egg, you won't get there. Fresh eggs produce superior outcomes in the kitchen, and the Amish understand this better than anyone. Furthermore, there is a psychological component to it. When you know that the eggs you're using are fresh and locally sourced, you feel more connected to your food. The Amish take great satisfaction in knowing where their food comes from, and that includes the eggs they keep. They have a close relationship with their hens, which fosters a greater appreciation for what they eat. It's not just about preserving food. It's about conserving a way of life, and freshness is essential for that. And let us not forget about sustainability. In a society where food waste is a major issue, utilizing fresh eggs reduces spoiling. If you can preserve eggs immediately after they are laid, you are not only saving them for later, but also reducing waste. The Amish believe in making the most of all they produce, and fresh eggs fit right in. Okay, let's switch gears and take a deeper look at the larger realm of Amish food preservation. The method the Amish keep eggs is only one part of the puzzle. They have a wealth of knowledge on how to keep their food fresh and delicious without using any appliances. So buckle up, because we're about to get into some more fascinating approaches that will make you reconsider your own pantry practices. The first item on our list is canning. The Amish are so good at canning that you'd believe they had a PhD in it. They can make almost everything you can think of, including fruits, veggies, sauces, jams, and more. It's more than just putting food in jars. It's about preserving the seasonal flavor for months, if not years. The technique is rather basic. They will sterilize jars, fill them with their harvest, and then utilize heat to produce a vacuum seal. That implies you can eat summer's bounty in the depth of winter without any preservatives. Talk about a delicious time capsule. The next step is fermentation, which not only preserves food but also adds flavor and health advantages. The Amish frequently ferment vegetables, such as sauerkraut and pickles, which can be stored for months. It's all about the beneficial bacteria working their magic. The procedure is straightforward. Slice your vegetables, add some salt, and let nature take its course. Over time, those vegetables transform into tangy, crunchy delight, ideal for adding flavor to meals or nibbling right from the jar. Now let us not forget about drying. Before that, press the subscribe button. Thanks for doing that. Whether it's fruits, herbs, or meats, the Amish use drying to concentrate flavors and increase shelf life. You've definitely had dried apples or jerky before, and the Amish have been doing it for generations. They frequently employ basic methods like air drying, hanging herbs in the kitchen, or making homemade dehydrators. It's a process that involves little work but produces excellent outcomes. Furthermore, dried foods are ideal for snacking, adding to recipes, or including stews when fresh ingredients are scarce. And here's a fascinating fact. Some Amish villages use root cellars. It's a creative approach to keep veggies like potatoes, carrots, and cabbages fresh by storing them in a cold, dark spot, and relying on the natural temperature of the earth. Think of it as nature's refrigerator. Root vegetables can be stored for months by digging a cellar in the earth or using a well-ventilated area. It's a clever solution that reduces spoilage and is as old as farming itself. You might be asking, why all this effort? Well, the solution is in their manner of life. The Amish value sustainability, self-reliance, and community. They aim to feed their family all year without relying on supermarkets or contemporary amenities. Plus, knowing that you can cultivate, preserve, and eat your own food without having to buy it from someone else is quite rewarding. This emphasis on preservation promotes community cohesion. Food preservation, whether it's gathering canned peaches or sharing suggestions on how to ferment cabbage, is frequently a social activity that deepens relationships and fosters friendships. It's about sharing information and customs passed down through generations, which is becoming increasingly rare in today's fast-paced, convenience-driven world. All right, let's speak about the seasonal rhythm and how it affects Amish egg production. You see, hens are similar to humans in that their mood changes with the weather, which can have a significant impact on how many eggs they lay. Understanding these seasonal fluctuations is critical for regulating their food supply and storing eggs for the long term. So as spring arrives and the days become longer, you can almost hear the chickens shouting as they strut around in the sunshine. With extra daylight hours, hens become extremely productive, laying eggs like they're in a competition. The warm weather and fresh greens give them a boost of energy and motivation. It's like a banquet for our feathered buddies. For the Amish, this means they may harvest a large number of fresh eggs to begin the preservation process, stockpiling for the winter months. Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. Then summer arrives. While you may assume it's egg-laying utopia, the truth is a little different. The heat can stress out the chickens, causing changes in egg production. If it becomes too hot, some birds may slow down or stop laying entirely. This is where the Amish experience comes into play. They understand that keeping their hens cool and happy, as well as providing shade and fresh water, is essential for maintaining egg production. After all, each egg counts. As we go into October, the egg production roller coaster takes another dive. With shorter days and cooler temperatures, chickens naturally reduce their laying. This is when the Amish get strategic. They begin to increase their preservation efforts, taking advantage of the abundant eggs produced during the spring and summer months. They don't want to wait till winter to find out that their egg supply is running low. Instead, they've already planned for it, employing old-school tactics to ensure they're prepared for the next few months. Then comes winter. Oh wow, the challenges are piling up. Cold weather can result in fewer eggs, and you can bet the hens aren't laying as often. This is why the Amish work hard to preserve their eggs while they still have a plentiful supply. During the colder months, they rely on their preserved egg stockpile as a backup plan to keep their families supplied. It's similar to having your cake and eating it, but with eggs. However, it is not only about the hens and the weather. The Amish also change their diets and care regimens depending on the season. In the spring and summer, the hens eat fresh grasses and insects, which keeps them healthy and improves egg quality. During the fall and winter, they may transition to grains and stored feed, which causes the egg's flavor and nutrition to shift slightly. The Amish are astute people, and they adapt their feeding habits to keep their chickens happy and productive no matter the season. So, what is the takeaway here? Understanding seasonal changes in egg production is critical for the Amish. They've learned to operate in unison with nature, modifying their tactics to maintain a consistent supply of eggs all year. This adaptation demonstrates not only their strong connection to the land, but also their resourcefulness. And if there's one thing we can all learn from the Amish, it's the importance of preparing ahead and respecting our food's natural cycles. Comparing preservation techniques, Amish and other methods. Before that, press the subscribe button. Thanks for subscribing. All right, folks, let's get into an interesting comparison of preservation techniques, specifically how the Amish method of keeping eggs compares to other methods available. Spoiler alert, the Amish have some serious time-tested techniques up their sleeves, but it's always nice to know what else is out there, right? First off, we have the Amish method of water glassing eggs, which entails employing a lime water solution to preserve those bad boys fresh for years. This procedure has been tried and true for generations. The beauty of it lies in its simplicity. Simply combine hydrated lime and water, dip your clean, fresh eggs in, and watch the magic happen. The benefit of this method is that it does not require refrigeration and can keep the flavor and quality of the eggs. They can go for 15 years without breaking a sweat. Now let's look at some additional typical egg preservation methods. Freezing is a popular technique. People will crack eggs, whisk them, and then freeze them in ice cube trays. That sounds very simple, doesn't it? Well, it is, but here's the catch. While freezing is a viable alternative, it is not as adaptable as water glassing. When you freeze eggs, you lose the gorgeous shell, so you have to use them immediately once they've thawed. Furthermore, thawed eggs may not have the same texture as fresh eggs, making them less suitable for some recipes. Then there is pickling. This is a fun one. Pickled eggs have a distinct acidic flavor that many people enjoy. To pickle eggs, hard boil them, peel them, and then soak them in a vinegar-based brine. However, while pickled eggs can remain for months, they are not as good as fresh eggs for baking or frying. You sacrifice adaptability for a singular flavor character. Plus, let's be honest, not everyone enjoys the pickled flavor. It's definitely an acquired taste. Another option that is becoming popular is the use of commercial egg preservatives. These items claim to increase the shelf life of eggs without refrigeration. But here's the thing. They're typically filled with chemicals and preservatives that some people choose to avoid. The Amish approach, on the other hand, uses simple, natural ingredients, hydrated lime and water, that do not jeopardize the egg's purity or your health. It's as near to nature as one can get. Also, don't overlook dehydration. While not a frequent procedure for eggs, it is worth noting. Some individuals dehydrate scrambled eggs or powdered eggs, which are ideal for camping or emergency food storage. However, you lose the creamy quality that makes fresh eggs so appealing. Furthermore, not everyone has a dehydrator lying around, making it less accessible than the Amish technique. So, what is the bottom line? Press the subscribe button now to see more Amish and traditional ways of living healthy. The Amish method of preserving eggs by water glassing is notable for its simplicity, efficacy, and limited reliance on contemporary comforts. It helps them to preserve the egg's integrity and flavor while keeping the procedure fully natural. In a society full of quick fixes and shortcuts, the Amish maintain customs that honor the art of food preservation. It's more than just storing eggs for 15 years without refrigeration, it's a way of life. The approach exemplifies their beliefs of sustainability, self-sufficiency, and respect for the earth. It's a lovely reminder that sometimes the old ways are the best, especially when it comes to maintaining the quality of our food. We've explored some amazing methods that not only keep food fresh, but also honor nature's bounty in the healthiest ways possible. Whether you enjoyed this look into the Amish way of life, don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing culinary facts and let me know in the comments whether you've ever tried preserving eggs or plan to do so after this. Click on the video that's popping up right here on your screen to see how you can preserve meat that lasts 15+ years. See you in the next video, where we'll uncover more secrets of the Amish way of life. Happy preserving!